Hey, so can you really just reinvent yourself? Like just totally head in a different direction and do something completely different? Hell yeah, you can. In fact, not only can you, I actually encourage you to do it. I've done it. And my guest today is probably my favorite Renaissance man of all time. His name is Scott Ginsberg. If you haven't met Scott before, he's freaking incredible. He's actually the reason that I am who I am today. He's the one who started me on the whole blogging journey. And now he's the head of content for this company called Metric Digital. But he's way more than that. He's a musician. He's a writer. He's a speaker. He does movies. He's married. He wears a freaking name tag every day. And he is just an awesome dude. And I'm just delighted that he's here with us today. What's up, Scott?
Hey, how's it going, Phil? Good to see you, man.
It's good to see you, man. So when we started hanging out together, let's see, that was February 14th of 2005. And
Yeah.
you answered the phone and said, "What the F took you so long to call me?" Right? Back in 2005. So 15 years ago, you were just a writing machine. You'd published what? I think at the time, your second book, third book, something
Probably.
like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Scott, now, and you lived in St. Louis, and now you're in New York City, man. So take us through what goes through your brain to make you go from being captain entrepreneur all by yourself, doing your own thing, I'm never getting a corporate job, to, hey, man, I'm the head of content for Metric Digital.
Yeah. My friends that I work with, they like to joke that you're not head of content, you're head of content. I'm like, I'll take that. Yeah. So I think that the key for my own reinvention was what you just said there, which was all alone. I think I got to a point where I was just so lonely and so just sick of sitting in my room making stuff all day, which was rewarding and enjoyable. But I'm like, I need other people. I can't take this anymore. And I had been working for myself for about 10 years at that time, or 10 or 11 years. And I got to this point. I remember I was eating ice cream with a friend of mine who's also in the same business of being a freelancer, entrepreneur. And we were having ice cream and I was just kind of complaining about it. And he's like, "Dude, you need to go do something totally different." I'm like, "Yeah, I think you're right." And I had this really beautiful epiphany of maybe it's time to just sort of let go of my childish, I will never work for anybody kind of thing. So I'm like, look, I'm 31 years old. I can get a big boy job. I can try. I'd like, everyone else has done the exact opposite. Everyone else went to work for a corporation immediately. I started my own business. Now I can just do the opposite, which is the one thing I never said I would do, which is go get a job at an office. So I did. And it wasn't as easy as I did, but it did happen fairly quickly. Over the course of the summer, I took a sabbatical and just reflected and relaxed and tried to figure out what the next chapter was, and then ultimately made my way at the time to an innovation studio that I worked for in New York. And it just opened my eyes to so many things. And the best way I can describe my initial feeling, I was just kind of in shock, I got to say, working at a company for the first time. But it felt like the difference between recording on a 4-track and recording on a 16-track.
Wow.
Yeah, just the ability to connect with other people on a regular basis opened up a lot of new avenues for being able to create value and enjoy it and have fulfillment. And that's what I've been doing ever since then. Like I think of myself as a dual citizen in that I have a full-time job and currently working for a startup. And then also having my business on the side, I do various projects whenever I make the time to do it. But it's not the grind that it used to be.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting that you would call entrepreneurship the grind, because so many people call the 9 to 5 the grind. And I got to tell you, having been an entrepreneur for 10 years, but went back in a corporate once in 2015 for 18 months, and now back in a corporate job as the VP of sales training for Vector Solutions. It's so fascinating to think that it's not a grind unless you make it one. I think that's really important to say, huh?
I agree. Pressure is a choice. And some people never make it. Some people make it way too much. I did the latter. And I put a lot of pressure on myself when I was working at previous jobs. And that was a grind. But I've come to realize that I can choose to be fulfilled in a way that connects with who I am and doesn't make me feel like I'm going crazy all the time. So everyone's going to say the other one is a grind. Having done both, of course, they're both grinds and they're both not grinds. And that's our decision.
Absolutely. So that's interesting. So you didn't use these words, but I hear them shine through, and that is aligning with who we are.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be aligned with who we are, but that starts. Let's back that way up with knowing who we are. So Scott, how did you figure out who you are, having never been had a corporate job before?
So I was telling a friend of mine about this the other day of doing my first resume because I never had a resume because I started a company when I was in college. So my resume was like my book or my website or whatever portfolio I had done. So it was really difficult to make my first resume because I knew that I had done stuff and that I had skills, but I didn't know what job title that I would really fit into. I mean, that's one of the big differences between entrepreneurship and traditional corporate work is like, there are specific words: copywriter, digital strategist, head of content. I'm just listing job type, brand manager, job titles that I've had. But I didn't know what any of those were. So my first resume, it was kind of just made up. Like the content was real, but like my skills and like the usable assets that I had for a company, I was just making stuff up because I had no market feedback. So after I got the first job, then I'm like, oh, I'm not X, Y, and Z, I'm A, B, and C. Got it. So it took a few iterations and a few jobs, I think, for me to really get, oh, got it. I see where my different skill sets come into play, how they create value for other people, for organizations, for clients, et cetera, et cetera. And once I got a handle on that, I think that made a huge difference. But initially, I'm like, I don't know. I'm a creative guy. I don't even, what does that even mean?
Yeah, that's so interesting because we have all these skills, and I think a lot of people have all these skills, and we forget that without any marketplace feedback, without
Right,
understanding what's meaningful to them, it's
right,
hard to sell, which is where I think so many go wrong because they put together this resume and they forget who's it for, who's
right,
going to read this, who
right.
thinks this is important, who's going to be excited by it, what do I really want to do? I mean, copywriter at one company might not be the same as copywriter at another company. So therefore, it's important to do some of those informational interviews. So I'm curious, Scott, did you go out? Did you talk to anybody and use LinkedIn or anything to actually have those conversations ahead of time, or did you just kind of puke your resume out there and get lucky?
Oh, I'm a puker. I definitely did the latter. And it was definitely some initial puking and then going back a little bit. And I'm not a recruiter person because recruiters need boxes. As you can tell, I'm not that type of person. I'm not great at fitting into boxes. At least I wasn't 8 years ago when I started this chapter of my life. Now I can probably box in a little bit better. So I just have to try stuff and just fail and just go on thousands of interviews and just not be right and not fit and have most people just didn't know what to do with me. And I think that's a really important concept that I had to reconcile, which was very challenging. Was what do you do when people don't know what to do with you? And I knew what to do with me, but I didn't understand how to operationalize my skill set in an office environment. So I'll give you two examples. So like my superpower, if I had a Venn diagram of like my superpowers, conveniently they all begin with the letter C. It's creating, connecting, and contentment. Those are my three things. So creating is, as you would think, writing is specifically, but just in general, making stuff up. Connecting, which is the interpersonal piece, which is a whole huge part of my life. And then the contentment piece. And when I say contentment, I don't mean making other people happy. I know how to make myself happy, and I know how to be content, and I know how to create fulfillment no matter what I'm doing because I worked really hard on that. So creativity, connection, contentment. So these three things, I knew in isolation what those did for me, but then I had to realize how that helps others. So what I've learned is like, for example, the creating. Okay, great. So I can write stuff. Awesome. But I need to be able to write something that my sales guy can take on a call and use that as collateral. I need to write something that my CEO can use in a presentation, or I need to be able to write something that when we have a new employee, I can write something that they'll go, oh, I see how this is important for the company. Got it. Training. Understood. Okay, there's that. Now let's go connection. So the second skill I had to figure out how to operationalize in a sort of reinvented way was how do I take what is important to me, which is the interpersonal piece, hence wearing a name tag every single day for 20 years. I love the back and forth, the face-to-face. So why does that matter? Well, I mean, sure, you want to have someone that you like talking to at the office. That's important for culture. But then I realized, oh, in addition to writing, I can connect with people and get them to write. I can connect with people to learn and to be able to grow. So when we onboard new employees, I can connect with them in a way that makes them feel welcome and equipped to start this new job. I can sit down with someone who's really smart and say, hey, the meeting we just had, you said something that I thought was really interesting. Can you tell me more about that? And then we get to connect around whatever topic that is. And then whatever we do with that information from a knowledge management standpoint, that goes over there. Okay, so that's the second one. The last one is contentment. So as I joked earlier that I'm head of content, but people make fun of me and say I'm head of content because I'm a content person. I know what makes me happy. And I also think I have a good sense of like trying to figure out what makes other people happy. Not in terms of what I can do to make them happy, but if I know that my coworker, Josh, he gets a lot of joy from these things, I can do whatever it is in my power to help connect around that and to bring that whenever I can, or to make sure that that's part of the way that he and I are interacting with each other. And I think that contentment piece, it's certainly not as quantifiable as creating or as connecting with someone, but the contentment piece is really important. And in terms of culture at a growing company, you have to have people that can bring that skill. Everyone's not going to do it. That's okay. I don't expect everyone to be as upbeat and positive and optimistic as me. But God damn it, I'm going to do it, and it's going to make a difference.
Well, I think you're wrong. And I think that contentment is actually finding out other people's why and plugging into that so that it generates ROI.
That's
because
right.
that means you doing what you love best, me doing what I love best, and hopefully finding a way to meld that to actually grow the company. So I think that that's totally quantifiable, brother.
Yeah. I think it is too. I think, we've been conditioned by the world that it's not a number and a result, and that's fine. Well, I'll keep generating ROI based on contentment, and everyone else can, keep measuring other things.
And that is the interesting thing. I think that is an opportunity now. For those that are listening and you're thinking about, so how do I fit into this big picture here? Think about, what is your why? Like, ask yourself that question, like, why do I do what I do? And what brings me the most contentment? What brings me the most joy? What brings me the most peace? What is it that, if I wasn't getting paid, what the heck is going to get me up in the morning? And to your point, Scott, I jumped back into corporate for the same reason you did. I wanted to be back around people.
Right.
I miss the people, man. I mean, you and I definitely people, right?
Right.
We love connection, and that's so important, which is funny because I could do this all day, but I still need the physical people that are outside my office to spend time with them. And some people think, well, what the heck, man? People are people. I don't think so. I think that being in the energy zone of people really helps me and makes me better. How about you?
I'm the same. I mean, I think from a psychological standpoint, the way that we identify who we are, the self is a social construct. So I don't know who I am until I see it reflected in other people. So only through my interactions with people of all levels and of all levels of intimacy with that I have with them, like, I'm only going to know based on their reflections. So like, it's hard to be yourself alone. And I did that for a long time. And I think you can do it for a while, but it's only until you're around other people. And it could be one person. It can be your spouse or significant other. One person is kind of all you need just to like be a good gut check and to mirror back to you, for better or for worse, weaknesses and also strengths. But I think that's so crucial. And without that, it just becomes kind of incestuous, and we're just kind of trapped in our heads without this intersubjectivity, which to me is the foundation of everything that we do.
Yeah, well, it's hard to see the label of the jar that we're in, right? I mean, Hugh McLeod said that, made this great graphic about that, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, absolutely. And I think that also comes with the fact that we both have flexible personality styles, and that we are willing and wanting and desiring of making other people, showing them happiness as well. So we'll bend to them. If somebody else is a great creationist, for instance, I might let them create, and I can focus on connection. Yeah. If somebody else is a great contentment person, I might be okay doing the other pieces, but nobody is my exact, my frog in the blender, right?
Right. Frog in the blender. I've not heard that one before. That's good.
Yeah, because the world's around like, and if you don't get out soon, then it smells and it kind of turns brown. So that's kind of bad.
Delicious.
Yeah, or not so much. I mean, it really depends. So, hey, so let's talk about your game show, man, because that's one of the
Yeah.
funniest things that you've done, and this is really fascinating. For those
Yeah.
of you who don't know, Scott has his game show, and this game called Steal Scott's Ideas. This thing is freaking genius. I was on episode 3 or 4, I
Yeah.
don't remember, but it was hilarious. It was one of the funnest things I've ever done. And yes, I used funnest and I did not say most fun because it was just fantastic. So, Scott, tell us about Steal Scott's Ideas and where this came from.
Sure. It came from being bored, like a lot of great ideas. I think boredom is really important. And a long time ago, when I was working at the innovation agency that I mentioned earlier, when we had downtime between client projects, one of the things we had to do was just come up with ideas. And it was so fun because we had a framework. It had this innovation framework, which is, okay, what's the problem you're trying to solve? What is the idea you have? How does it work? And then what's the sort of marketing tagline, which was, of course, the most fun part as a copywriter. So we would just have fun, throughout the day creating these ideas. And I kind of took it to a little bit more OCD degree because I kept a spreadsheet and I had all these ideas. And over the years, once I left that job, I had thousands of ideas. So I eventually got to a point where I started sharing a few of them on my blog, kind of hinting at them during presentations. And I thought it'd be really fun to turn it into a game show because I could write a book with a bunch of ideas in it. I've already done that. I wanted to make a game show because that involved other people. I knew if I did a game show, I could do it sort of like a Shark Tank meets Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me meets The Onion and have a great time brainstorming with people. So I put together the game show, which is in the form of a podcast, and it is so much fun. I have cried laughing doing this game show where we essentially create inventions and market them and come up with these ideas. And oh my God, it is just the most fun project that I've been doing now for several years. So Phil, as you mentioned, you were on episode 2, and I've gotten much better at the show since episode 2. I think my hosting abilities are better, and I've got a good sense of like how to make the show better. And yeah, man, it's so fun. Like I've done it with family members, I've done it with friends, with clients, I've done it with total strangers, which is really cool too. And so one of the more recent iterations of this project is I made the Steal Scott's Ideas home edition.
Yes, I have one. Thank you for sending me that.
I know you have. So it's got like, yeah, you can see it right there. It's got all the different ideas. So there are, what is it? Services, software, products, all types of stuff. And then on the back, it's got the framework that I mentioned. So if you can see there, it's got what's the problem, what's the idea, how does it work, and then what's the tagline. And what I think is so fun about this game is it's a card game that you can hold. That in itself is super cool. But when you open up the game and it says how to play, there's no rules. I can't stand the board games and card games that have this giant script of rules that takes 14 minutes to explain, and you're just like, I don't want to play this stupid game anymore. My game has no rules. I don't care how people play. I don't care if people play at all. I just wanted to make this cool thing. And I've heard from the friends of mine and family members that have played is they love when there's no rules. People invent their own way to play, which is perfect because it's a game about innovating. So I've challenged people to innovate the way they play.
That's awesome. Unfortunately, there's no draw two stackers like there is in Uno, but there's a lot of fun there. I love the framework, right? Problem, idea, how does it work? And then the marketing tagline, which I think is brilliant. And I think that's a great suggestion for anybody who's thinking about any idea, right? If you can come up with those 4 things, you can come up with a great idea. So really good. But let's not forget that the problem often is the one that we miss because that's the hardest one.
I think so too. And one of the ways I began coming up with my ideas is just spend some time on Reddit, because Reddit people love to complain about stuff. But like, what are problems people have? And just go online and find places where people are talking about problems. And now sometimes it's going to be really lofty. Like the problem is, world hunger. Like that's a big problem. And like, who wouldn't want to solve that? That's one place to start. But a lot of times the more specific the problem is, the better. So I know, for example, someone says, well, like, I have a problem with, I keep losing my pens. Every day at the office, my pens just disappear. And I'm thinking, all right, that's a pretty common problem. So how do we fix that? Like, right, so maybe that means we need to have pens that have sensors on them so your phone will tell you in the office, no, Mike stole my pen. I can see it. It's right over there. It's ridiculous, but it's fun to think of that in a way, so it's all about utility, right? And it's about reducing friction, solving loneliness, increasing joy. These are sort of the root of all the problems that we have. And once you get your brain into that moment, you can figure out the type of levers that we have to pull to solve these problems in interesting ways.
Yeah. Well, I also think that's a great way to attack if you're going to go back and reinvent yourself.
Right.
What problems do you like to solve?
Right.
What ideas do you have about solving them? How might that work out? And then come up with a fun tagline. Like yesterday, I interviewed a guy for an inside sales manager position, and he actually came with he instead of just a boring resume, which I was like, yeah, that's what I was expecting. He actually handed me a 8 pages
Nice.
with a letter of recommendation, with his 30, 60, 90-day plan, with a card, like a playing card, because he calls himself an ace. He says he's ambitious, creative, and enthusiastic.
Nice.
Love that. Freaking brilliant. Like that guy, I hope we hire the guy.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. Like he would be someone I want to partner with because he's got ideas. I love that. So it's interesting that he got that. And naturally, we don't even realize that there's a framework for the game. Right. We think that this is somehow totally unique, but applying a framework to anything helps us better problem solve, helps us think, and helps us iterate faster so we can come up with what we're really passionate about. So you said that isn't your framework though, Scott. So do you have your own framework, or is that the only one that you're using now?
I have so many frameworks. I need a framework for my frameworks. I have way too many of them. I honestly can't remember all of them. I'll give you another one as an example. So this is much more abstract than the innovation one, but this is sort of a creative framework. And this is the way that I think about the process of art and the process of making things and how it relates to the world. Because I think that I think art is subordinate to life. Life comes first. We can't just make art all the time that we don't have any life from which to generate the art. So because those things are so intimately connected, one of the frameworks that I have is keep doing things worth writing about and keep writing things worth talking about. So I'll say it again. So keep doing things worth writing about and keep writing things worth talking about. Now, that doesn't mean like I need to go climb Mount Everest or do something that's so crazy. Oh my, what an experience. I have to write about that. That could be something as simple as, hey, yesterday I was really honest with a coworker and shared how I felt about something that wasn't positive feedback. Or maybe someone shared something with me because of our relationship. We've connected in a way where they felt safe to share. Like that to me is worth talking about. Now, it's not like I'm sharing people's secrets. I'm, sharing lessons that are certainly anonymous, but like my goal is to be able to be present in life and to be connected with the people that are important to me in a way that the next morning when I'm sitting there, at 5 a.m, like trying to think of some stuff to write about, I go, wow, what a beautiful moment it was yesterday when I was walking home from work with my friend and all the stuff we talked about. What did I learn from that? And then I can write some insight that I might have gained from that conversation. And then the goal would be at some point, if I'm able to share that piece of writing in whatever form the writing may take, that it might help somebody, might inspire them, might provide value to them because it's based on some experience that I had that was worth sharing, worth writing down, and now at this point is worth passing on.
Yeah. Wow. I really like that. Keep doing things worth writing about. Keep writing about things worth talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, do you still publish writing every day? You still write every day?
Yeah. I write every single day. It's pretty rare that I miss it. I will in December. I'll usually take a week off as a forced fast of writing because I'm very opposite of most people. Most people like have to force themselves to write. I have to force myself not to write, which is a good place to be, but I make myself do that just to kind of tourniquet the flow a little bit so that way I can dam it up, not think about it for a week. It's okay to do that because I trust that when I come back in January, it's back. I'll be ready to go. So with that exception, for the most part, I write pretty much every day, and I usually publish something every day. It's not always the thing I write, which is kind of an interesting thing. Like whatever I published on my blog this morning, I don't remember what it was. I'd have to go look, but whatever that was, I probably wrote it 3 years ago because my editorial calendar is so long because I write so much that my next 3 years of blog posts, they're done. So whatever I wrote today, like before we got on the phone here, I'll probably publish that in 2022 or whatever the hell year it'll be by then. That's the nature of my prolificacy. It's kind of frustrating because if I publish something, a friend or a family member might read it and go, "Hey, is everything okay?" I'm like, yeah, I wrote that like 4 years ago. Don't worry about it.
That's fantastic. So you've taken Seth Godin and Anthony Iannarino's habit of writing every day to a whole nother level, man.
It's the level that works for me. I am sure that it's not usable for other people, but that's not my problem.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a great lesson, right? Write for yourself, create for yourself, and understand that sometimes there's some efficacy for other people, but that's not what's important. What's important is that you get it out of your head and out of your heart.
100%. I mean, I just want to be able to metabolize my feelings and experiences that I have every single day. And in addition to not expecting anyone to read it, I know people aren't going to read it. I have entire books that no one has ever read, and I'm totally okay with it. I know that. I get reports from Amazon. I know what books not a single person has ever bought or read. I don't care. This is for me. I am the most selfish person I've ever met when it comes to creativity. And I think that's really healthy and really important. And it also, it removes a lot of the rejection and disappointment that I think people just get hurt with. Like, I don't care. I don't read reviews. I don't even know if I have reviews. I don't care. I just like to make things. And if there's an audience there, that's a great cherry on top. But that's not the point. I am the audience.
That's awesome. Right for you. You are the audience.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, Scott, we could literally talk for hours. As much as you write and as much as I love to talk and love to hear from you, man, we could talk all the time. So what, you got a project coming up that you want to talk about, or something in the past besides the Steal Scott's ideas that you want to share with folks to give them a direction where they can get more of your stuff?
So I'll answer the second one first. If you want to get more of my stuff, just Google the word name tag. That's the easiest way to do it. I have many things all over the web. So do that. You'll find some entry point for my insanity. And then the other project that I guess I could share. So not this weekend, but next weekend, first weekend in November, I'm going to record my next album. Very excited about it. It's my 10th record. Cannot wait. Same studio that I've been at for many years now, same engineering team. They're great. The songs are beautiful. I'm really proud of them. I cannot wait to get them up onto Spotify so nobody can listen to them. And it's going to be an awesome project.
So, and we can find those. Do we have to search for name tag or by Scott Ginsberg, or how do we find those
so on Spotify, Spotify, you just have to do Scott Ginsberg. The word name tag is part of my bio, but I think as an artist, it doesn't include that name. Maybe it should, but who cares?
Who cares? Yeah, Scott Ginsberg, you're awesome, man. So search for name tag, folks. If you want to reinvent yourself, Scott gave us a great framework to think about there. He gave us his innovation framework that's problem, idea, how does it work, and what's the marketing tagline. And he shared with us a great quote. He said, keep doing things worth writing about. Keep writing about things worth talking about. Scott Ginsberg, you're absolutely someone we're talking about and learning from. And I appreciate you, my friend. Every chance I get, I love spending time with you. Thanks.
Thanks, Phil. Love you too, man.
All right. See you soon. Here we go.